President George Washington once said, "If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter." He was largely correct. He was an intelligent man, he was a good man, but he could have never foreseen in his time the rise of the internet, the ability of everyone to communicate with virtually everyone else in real time. It reveals a greater truth. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, and you can't go back in life and change what's already been done. You can only change yourself and where you go from here. There are people in the progressive movement, people on the left, that are trying to put a genie back in the bottle. The idea of free speech and free thought on the internet. And I have some great news to report for you guys today. They're going to fail. They're going to fail because a generation of critical thinkers is being created right now over on a platform called Twitch. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, wait a minute, Florida Maquis, that's a gaming platform. How could critical thinking be involved in that? Well, wait until you see what I have to share with you today. And if you stick with me through this video, you'll realize just how bad it is for the left right now. We have to start here. Everybody is aware of what's going on social media with quote-unquote certain integrity policies and all this. YouTube removing dislike would play into hands of progressive woke inquisition trying to radically transform American society. Well, YouTube is an international platform. It wouldn't just transform American society. But the idea of saying this group of people over here is authorized to speak, and that group of people over there, they're not. You see, there's a specific game on Twitch right now that will completely defeat this line of thinking. Even young kids will be able to understand this. This is something called Bloom's taxonomy. This is how you determine the critical thinking level of a student. It's the very bottom. Remembering, can you memorize things, recall things, repeat things? The next level, of course, is understanding. Then can you apply it? Can you then analyze it critically? And then can you evaluate the analysis? Can the student justify a stand or decision, appraise, argue, defend, judge, select, support, value, and reevaluate? And then from there, create new thought is the very top. Now, what game am I talking about? Well, we have this idea of confirmation bias, that when we already think we believe a thing, it's very easy for us to go find things that reinforce that belief. Social media reinforces this, that when you continue to look for things and search for things, the algorithms will pump more of that same thing to you, making you believe your opinion, no matter what it is, left or right, is more prevalent than what it is. That's why critical thinking is so important. Now, here's where things are really going to surprise you. There's a game. You don't have to play it on Twitch. You can play it, with a group of friends, but it's incredibly popular on Twitch. Twitch is a streaming service where you play games online and people can go watch. It's a game called Among Us. Now, graphics-wise, it's almost 1980s, 1990s level, but the idea of the game is intriguing. Join your crewmates in a multiplayer game of teamwork and betrayal. Play online or over local Wi-Fi with 4 to 10 players as you attempt to hold your spaceship together and return back to civilization. But beware, as there may be an alien imposter aboard. One crewmate has been replaced by a parasitic shapeshifter. Their goal is to eliminate the rest of the crew before the ship reaches home. Now, I know this is getting confusing for a minute, but stick with me here. The imposter will sabotage the ship, sneak through vents, deceive and frame others to remain anonymous, and kill off the crew, While everyone is fixing up the ship, no one can talk to maintain anonymity. Once a body is reported, the surviving crew will openly debate who they think the imposter is. The imposter's goal is to pretend that they are a member of the crew. If the imposter is not voted off, everyone goes back to maintaining the ship until another body is found. If the imposter is voted off, the crew wins. So you have all these different colors of characters that you play. And the more people involved, the more intriguing the game gets. Now, once this idea of a body being reported, there's a meeting called. And everybody sits and everybody talks about who saw who where, doing what on the ship. But remember, one person is the imposter. So they have to convince everyone that they're also just a member of the crew. Now, here's the part that's going to make you absolutely flip. If any one of the crew members would say, don't listen to orange or green or purple. In fact, we should shut off their microphones. They shouldn't be allowed to talk. They shouldn't be allowed to express what they saw or what their opinion is or, their viewpoint. That would be referred to as incredibly, as they like to call it, sus. Anyone who says, don't listen to this person or don't listen to that person, is likely the imposter, is likely the bad guy. Because it's nearly impossible with a lot of people playing to do what you have to do as an imposter, end someone, and get away with it. What is incredibly important in this game is to listen to what everyone says and then analyze it with critical thought, compare it with what other people say, think for yourself, and then make a decision, because everybody votes. And sometimes everybody gets it right, and sometimes everybody gets it wrong. But everybody gets to speak. Anyone who suggests that anyone else shouldn't be able to speak is probably the bad guy, probably the imposter. And tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions around the world play this game. Young play this game. It teaches the importance of listening to everyone's point of view and analyzing it for yourself. Nobody's in charge of policing anyone else. And using critical thinking skills. This is why the left is in huge trouble, because their go-to group of people to manipulate into believing what they believe is the youth. And the youth is starting to say, hey, wait a minute, hold on. Why is Twitter and Facebook saying that we can't hear this side of the story? Why are they taking these other opinions over here and making them less visible than these other opinions over here? See, it goes to something that I know there's a lot of parents in my audience. You tell a kid not to do something, they're going to go do it. They're going to wonder why. They're going to be curious about that. They're going to look into it. This is how I know for a fact that Dorsey and Zuckerberg have no idea about psychology. Because if they did, they would have never taken the actions that they took. If you want somebody to look into something, if you want somebody to dig deeper, tell them not to. Try to hide it from them. Try to shadow ban it. That'll make it even more attractive. Every parent within the sound of my voice knows exactly what I'm talking about. You just flat out ban something, a kind of music or an activity or a person, especially, okay, let's say if you've got a teenage kid who's got a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you don't like. Oh my goodness, if you want to make sure that they absolutely fall in love with them, tell them how much you hate them. That's guarantee. Guarantee that they'll have a nice long relationship. It's the exact same psychological effect. And when you add that to the critical thinking, guys, I'm telling you, this is great news. Let them continue. Please don't ever interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. I've said this before. And right now the left is making a huge, giant error with this idea of shadow banning and censoring. But it's a good thing, because the kids now are going to grow up to become adults at some point. And they're going to look at this. This will be their end. Because when the young now grow up and become adults and they look back at this, they're going to look, okay, this is pretty clear. They were trying to hide something. They didn't want us looking at this. They didn't want us investigating this. They didn't even want us to hear anybody talk about it. We should look into that more. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle, and you can't go back in life and change what's already been done. This is going to prove that Dorsey and Zuckerberg are not nearly as powerful as they think they are. It's ignorance mated with narcissism. And there are many out there like this that think they're too powerful to be dealt with. But this is how you deal with it. Let them make the mistake. Let them do what they're doing and just educate the youth. We know what went on. We don't have to talk about it in specific terms. And those that we believe are being somehow deceived, they're going to figure it out. Kids are smarter than you give them credit for. They see things, they hear things. They may not always react to it, but they're going to remember this time. They're going to remember this era. And they're going to ask questions. Hey, I want to see all of the information. I want to hear what everyone has to say. And I'm going to make up my own mind, whether it's good information, whether it's bad information, whether it's mis or disinformation. I want to hear it all, and then I'll make up my own mind. That's what's being taught in this game. That millions and millions and millions and millions of kids have played countless times. Super popular game. And it's great news. And it's a huge, huge blessing. They're going to learn this idea of cognitive biases, the confirmation bias, just through their daily life. Because they're going to understand and they have a better comprehension of this than some adults do, that if I search for this thing over and over and over again, all of a sudden I'm going to start to see ads for things like this and things related to this. It's confirmation bias, just in the ad realm. If I'm talking about this, and this, things like this are just going to appear. So that's why it's important to look at everything, to look at all of it, and leave it up to the individual to make up their mind about what they believe. That is a value that we share with the youth. This is absolutely fantastic, wonderful news. Thank you, Zuckerberg. Thank you, Dorsey, for revealing for the world who you really are. Thank you for the roadmap to your psyches. We're going to use it. God bless. Have a great week. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.